And we're back. Welcome, everybody, to Fatso Radio, episode number 46. I have some special guests today. We have Nick Tatasciore and Christie Albidone from Meet the Butcher, Prime Cuts in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So everybody knows that I'm from the Sioux, and it's my pleasure today to chat with them. I want to hear about the store. I want to hear about the shop, what they do, and of course their experiences. And of course, for all my listeners, we always talk about fat. We always talk about meat. I always talk about the health benefits, but also the taste and the source and everything. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to we'll just chat and see how it goes. So welcome, guys, Nick and Christy.
Hey, thanks for having us.
No problem. Thanks so much. So Nick, what I want to start with is basically kind of tell me a little bit about the shop itself, kind of where you started as well, kind of your history there. And then it's changed ownership, of course, and then kind of, the evolution of the shop and where you are today with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the shop itself is about 40 years old. And we're now in our new location, but
okay.
I started back with Benny, and right after he bought out his partnership. So this shop has had a history of one leading to another. It's got a great following turnaround.
Yeah.
So he bought off his partner. Then I came in with Benny about 2012, 2013.
Okay.
Or no, 2010, and I worked for him until about 2012, and then that's when I bought in with my partner. So, but back we were in the old building, which was stereotypical Italian style, just packed to the walls, full of pastas and knickknacks and this and that.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't my vision of a butcher shop,
yeah.
But they knew it was working for them, and they
Absolutely.
had that clientele.
Yep.
So then we were in the original building for about 5 years, and then we're trying to progress with the times, but we were getting a lot of kickback from the customers didn't want to see the change, because when you got that kind of clientele, if you move that pasta from shelf A to shelf B, it felt like the world was ending. You don't care about us no more. So, so that was a very difficult thing to do. But my partner wanted out, and I wanted to keep on going with my vision. So we cut ties, we sold everything off, and then we moved closer to a high school and into a more industrial setting. Nice. And when we get you out into the shop to give you that show around, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But now I focus right on meat. That's nice. All I do. Now I'm able to do my dry age programs. I'm able to actually showcase whole beefs and items and pigs and goats.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So, and Christy here, she handles everything else front end, but I can strictly be what I wanted to be, just a butcher,
Yeah, absolutely.
So that got me here. I'm 32.
32? Are you sure?
Yeah. 32 now. I took over when I was 27.
Okay, awesome. So how did you get into the meat business itself? Like, even just cutting meat, or how did you just working and or how do you interested at least, or is it funny?
There's two stories I tell. One is my wife said she wasn't going to marry a drug dealer, so I had to get a real job.
Okay.
And,
she's high classy.
Yeah. So, and now I'm married. But
nice.
But I grew up in Gooley, just 25 minutes north of the city, right?
Yeah.
My family had a farm out there, so they did their own pigs, cattle, horses, goats, chickens. So I was always around it growing up. So I was always familiar with it.
Yeah.
And, you pick stuff that comes natural to you. And me cutting came natural at this point in my life to use that as my trade.
Wow. So you were exposed to it at a very, very young age. And it was part of life, right?
Yeah. It all started, I was feeding cows. I was about 6 years old. And have you seen a tongue on a cow?
I have.
It's a country mile, right? So here I am through the fence feeding it this grass, and it wraps its around my hand, and it's pulling me in through the fence, and it's trying to get the grass in my hand into its mouth.
Oh my God.
That was the day. That's when it all turned around.
Well, I guess so. It's like wrapped around your heartstrings.
Yeah. Ever since then, I'm eating the cow.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of like, did they have just a couple of cows and pigs, or what kind of operation was it at home there? Just a few?
It was big because it was a big family, like seven brothers and sisters
Wow.
plus their kids. So every one of my grandmother's kids had like 2 cows and 30 chickens and fields for days. And
Okay.
and that's, I remember distinctly the quality and taste of beef from then to now.
Yeah.
Because I was always, why does our stuff we get in the freezer always taste different than it, before I would, like, as a kid, I even noticed, like, this has a more, it has taste to it, whereas you get the ground beef from whatever shop at the time, and like, no flavor, no taste, no.
Wow, yeah. So right away you knew, kind of growing up, that,
Yeah, but did I put the two and two together? No.
Not really.
Not until
That's funny. It's kind of the same thing culinary-wise, like growing up with my dad in the restaurant business and my uncles and everybody. It's like you grow up with such good food that you're in the good food storm, and you don't realize until you get out of it, right? Until you look back, you're like, wow, it's like crappy food out there. I need to go back home. It's good food. Yeah. That's awesome. So, and then like you said, and then because you've been around, it was just came natural, I guess the meat, and then you must have had a natural skill to it. And how did that kind of put two and two together? At one point, did you realize, hey, I can do this? Like, was that
when I first got my job? I applied 4 times to get in with the old place.
Wow.
And I'd watch him take my resume and just shoot it. I was like, all right, I'm coming back tomorrow. I come back tomorrow and give him another one.
That's awesome.
And he's like, no, I'm not hiring. I was like, all right, I come back again, and then eventually I got onto a program, Employment Solutions, and because it's a trade, they paid Benny. And if you know any business owner likes to be paid to.
Absolutely.
So that got me in the door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's actually a pretty good, testament to that kind of whole program and everything, right? And how it just kind of, it's a kickstart you needed, right? Because like you said, you already had the experience, you already had the passion. It just helped you out, get you in.
Yeah, that's, if you have the love, want, and drive to do it, you can be it. Like if I wanted to be like a pilot and I had that kind of drive, I'd be flying.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Cool. So Christie, let's chat about you a little bit. What brought you to the business? And then definitely want to chat a little bit. I think we have some interesting stories around vegetarianism and everything and kind of the shift. So welcome to the show again. And thank you.
Thank you. So I joined the shop probably about 4 or 5 years ago, back at the old location when it was still Prime Cuts around the corner. I had just moved to the Sioux with my now husband. We were newly dating at the time. We met when I was in college. I'm from Southern Ontario. I'm from Brantford originally, and it was either come to the Sioux or go to Brantford. Well, him being a Northern Italian, he's like, there's no way I'm going south. So I came north.
Forget about it.
So I came to the Sioux. Nick was looking for some help at the shop, so he hired me on, and I was just working pretty well as cashier, deli clerk. I started the Facebook and was working on the website a little bit. But then there was a career opportunity for me in my field, what I had gone to college for. I went to college to be a vet tech. So I moved on, worked as a vet tech for a few years, and I was just burnt out. It was so mentally and physically exhausting, and I was just feeling sick from being so stressed out and everything. So I came back once we were moving locations and everything, and I've been with them since.
Awesome. So, and you've been, like you said, about earlier this year, right? You started being the manager there?
So in February when we were when we were finishing up the move.
Awesome.
It's been almost a year now already.
Cool.
Wow.
Time flies.
Yeah, it really does.
Awesome. So one of the biggest questions I have for you guys, because you are surrounded by meat all the time, obviously, and it's a big concern these days, everything from quality and the sourcing and everything. My first question is, where does most of your product come from? Where does most of your meat come from? Is it you tell me. I won't even guess because I don't know.
Well, that's actually the most important part, and like that's the keystone to our business is we source and buy Canadian product. Like it's not just that we source and buy Canadian product. We we look for the company. We don't take the companies. We look like any, knock on wood, all companies that we've chosen to deal with, there's no recalls.
Nice.
Because it's that important to me is my customers are going to tell me whether I'm doing a good or bad job, not a health department agency, not the local CTV or whatever on what's out there being contaminated. Because I already know what we buy, and my customers know.
Yeah.
So I buy beef from 2 different places, and those are the only 2 because it's guaranteed a good product. And when you're buying Canadian product, and I can't stress this enough, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, steroid-free. It's the law.
Yes, thank you.
But it's the law. Like we are getting so known for, other than inside this community, but outside the community, we're getting really known for this.
Yeah.
So and that being said, we had the Ontario Meat Board come in here and do an inspection and an interview to maybe take this into a meat cutting training facility, because outside of this city, we're getting known for having that quality. So so like when I source chicken, I only get it from 2 spots. Because you can't just buy from one. You got to, because if something happens, a shipping delay or they're out of stock, you have to have an equal good or better product.
Yeah.
So, but I make sure, like, I try to get the bulk of my chicken out of Manitoba. I don't know what they always have that. They got good stuff there. It's like my pork, it's always Ontario or Quebec. Okay. Those are the 2 best pork programs I found. But the old mentality was buy your pork from the West. The West has the best pork. And you know what? I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's bring it in. I brought in a couple of the older guys. I was like, here's your Western pork. Here's your Eastern pork. Eastern pork went. Western pork stayed behind. And it's quality. But they're not apt to change. And education is hard when people don't want to learn.
Yeah.
So I buy all of my beef comes from Alberta and Ontario, because Ontario will have some good program, but it gets bought up really fast because Toronto, and so you got a heavy population here, and so you always have to have different sources.
Okay.
But I keep a standard, and then I'll deal with the local farmers.
Yeah. So my next question was, are there local farmers, suppliers of beef and chicken and pork, like right in the local area, right? So it is not hard to eat local, is it?
No, it's not hard to eat local. It's hard to supply local.
Okay.
Because everything has to go through like an abattoir. But what a lot of people are doing now is they're doing it for themselves. They're not doing it to sell, to give away anymore.
Okay.
So that's where I come in, and I cut specific to them. They bring me their animals. I give them back to them.
Gotcha.
In a manageable size. And but it's very competitive because we're a small border city, and up until a couple months ago, there were 3 Walmarts within 80,000 people.
Yeah.
So it's very competitive. So like if I buy locally from a local farmer, he's also going down to the mill market and selling it there. And then I've even been in the position where I bought a product off of a local guy, and when I was taking out the garbage, he was selling his same product in my parking lot to the customers as they're coming in.
Jeez.
So the opportunity's there, but everyone's just looking for themselves, not the. So
yeah. So it's a challenge.
It is.
I mean, it's definitely moving that
quality though,
right? Yeah, and you see that the trend is moving in that direction, and people are trying to go more. And then it must be the education, right? Things like this, I guess, getting the word out that it's not that hard to do. And guys like you, right, or like you guys, where you're actually offering the product, and then like my buddy Scott always says, I go there and he explains to me about the media. I ask these crazy questions, he'll explain it to me, and that's like you said about the service part of it, the education part of it, and then that's the community part that I always kind of grew up with. Like we were talking before the show. Just the customer service, really, it's just being honest and, hey, this is our product. and this is why it's good. This is why this is the price, and nobody minds paying for good stuff. Like we, we pay top dollar for shit a lot of times when for junk. Most times, actually, all this, everything from social media, everything to this, disposable incomes that none of us really have it these days, especially in this climate of economy. But so yeah, so it's really nice to see when you find a good product, you say, and you explain why it's a good product. That it's better to know that knowledge, and you're armed with that knowledge as well. So one of the other questions I want to know really is, so there's a big trend these days, right, with the Fatso, like I was saying, like Fatso Radio, of course, the higher fat, lower carb. I would think it's probably good for business, of course. As time goes on, hopefully people are going to be eating more meat, I think. But at the same time, there's a very strong trend on the other side. Right, very strong push from the vegetarian and vegan, and it's so much conflicting information, so much rhetoric on both sides, so much just bashing, and a lot of it is, there's a lot of lies out there, of course, and so one of the reasons why I want guys like you guys on the show is it's really, from the horse's mouth, well, maybe a bad word, but really from the source to say, like, what's it like, you, Christy, you said you were on the other side, you're vegetarian, well, not the other side, but on vegetarian veganism, and your experiences with it, and then also kind of everything from the ethical side. How do everybody has to sleep at night, right? I was talking to a farmer the other day, and he explained it beautifully to me, that it is a cycle of life, like we all say, life consumes life, and so yeah, maybe Christy, you can kind of explain your experience with that.
Yeah, so I was a vegetarian. I started very young. I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And the only reason I started being a vegetarian was my sister actually showed me these PETA videos. I'm sure everybody knows about PETA. Yep. And at the time, I thought that they were these great rescue group. And, seeing these videos of slaughterhouses, I thought, oh my God, how can I eat that when that's happening to these animals? Because I grew up being an animal lover. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a vet growing up. So yeah, I stopped eating meat at a really young age, but I was always tiny. I was always underweight. I was always weak. When I went to college, I kind of got to see a lot more into the real life of farms because I went to tech school. So part of our course was learning about large animals, of course. So we went to dairy farms. We went to beef farms. Wow. So it was interesting to see how the animals actually live in real life, at least in Canada too, because now as an adult, I realized that a lot of these PETA videos are staged. They're 1 in a million. That's not what really happens in the meat industry, at least for the majority of it, because all those slaughterhouses get shut down. Like there's so many regulations around the treatment of the animals. So then, yeah, seeing how they actually live and how well they're taken care of, and see like there is vets that come into these farms and make sure that they're being taken care of properly. And then I guess just really looking into how I was feeling physically. I was fatigued all the time. I suffered from migraines from the time I was 13 to even now. I do still get them, but not as often. I was going weeks where I would have a migraine for a week straight. Wow. And yeah, just getting dizzy spells, and I was underweight and just felt like crap all the time. So my husband was a big meat eater, and so was his whole family. So he said, well, maybe you should try eating meat again. So very, very slowly, I got back into it. I started with just chicken broth in the beginning, and then got into a little bit more of chicken and fish. And now I'm full-fledged eating beef, pork, fish, chicken, I'll try just about anything. Yeah. Now, even wild game meat. I never thought I would see myself in a butcher shop helping to process wild game, but here I am, and I'm feeling a lot better. I put on probably about 10, 15 pounds once I started eating meat, which was a good thing for me because I was so underweight, and so many people complimented how much better I looked. They said beforehand I looked unhealthy and that I was like a skeleton. So, yeah. And I also, when I was a vegetarian, I wasn't eating properly. There are some vegetarians who, I guess, do it right, kind of. They might be healthy as a vegetarian, but I didn't like beans, so I wasn't eating beans or lentils. I was mostly surviving off of pasta and processed fake meat items, like the soy chicken and the soy beef. And then learning about how bad all that soy was for you, and that probably explained why I was feeling so crappy, was from eating all this processed garbage, really.
Yeah. Wow. So you've come basically full circle now. I mean,
Yeah.
you still eat fruits and vegetables and grains, or
Yeah.
not? Yeah, you still eat the regular,
Yeah.
right? Just regular omnivore diet, like most humans. I'm a crazy guy who eats just meat, but
Yeah.
we'll get into that later as well. But you like me because I'm good for business. But yeah, no, that's interesting. So now I want to really kind of dive in on one moment, just on the ethical side, because you must have had to kind of put some questions to bed, or make peace with some questions in your mind to say, well, how, I'll let you answer. How did you change from thinking of
Yeah.
the ethics
So,
of it, from the morality to?
It was really hard, and it was definitely like a battle within my mind, I guess, to switch from one spectrum to the other, because I kind of felt like I was betraying the animals at first, but yeah, I've really just come to, I guess, respect the circle of life and realize there's so many meat eaters out there, and the little amount of meat that I eat, if it wasn't me, it would be somebody else who was going to be eating it anyways. Like, we are humans, we are carnivores. It's never going to change. And then, like I said, being in tech school and seeing how they actually were treated better than I had initially expected, and realized it's not like they really know any other life. They're born and raised in a farm, and that's what they are raised for. And really seeing the wild game side of things too, I have a lot of respect for hunters, and I feel like, I mean, if you can support yourself strictly on hunting alone, that's awesome. If you could avoid processed meat, that's great. That's good for you. But that's just not logical. That just can't happen. No. Especially in big cities like this, and if you have a big family, it's just, and it's also not the time. I mean, me and my husband have no time to go out hunting for our own meat, so we just go with what's best, really.
Yeah, exactly. And so, Nick, what do you think about that? I mean, you probably were so young when you were experienced, right, to this whole slaughtering process. You never thought about it, but I guess looking back now, I mean, what do you think about that? Is it, you have issues with it? Obviously not, but I mean,
no, I go to bed happy.
Yeah,
like,
well fed.
Like, I don't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you're talking to people on the other side of the, like, we're both on one side of a fence or another. Yeah. And when you're talking to other people, the first thing I say is, like, where did you do your research? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you watched the documentary, but who paid for the documentary? Yeah. Are you researching .com, .gov, .org, or is it .ca? Like, where, and like, well, what does that matter? And I was like, well, if you're going to argue me and my livelihood, you could at least come with the knowledge that, we're in Canada. This is how we live. This is the bare minimum you can do.
Standards. Exactly.
Yeah. We have standards, and they're a lot higher than
that's why
our southern country there. And and I remember 3 or 4 years ago, Canada and Mexico, and it did not hit the news for long, but they stopped American beef from crossing into each border, and Mexico stopped it too. Because what the companies were doing was they were buying, like, Brazil, like, and there's nothing wrong with these other countries' meat. I don't want to say that. That's what I'm trying to say. But they were relabeling it as American beef, so that it would go through, like, the USDA, or so that the CDA wouldn't flag that. But even, when 2 countries catch you, but that, I don't know why that didn't hit the news very long. Like, I just happened to see it when I was eating wings at a local restaurant there, and then the next day, companies called me up. Did you buy, or the CDA or health department, whatever it was? Do you buy from this company? This? No, I don't deal with those companies. Okay, good, because blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And but everyone thinks they're doing information, but everyone's naturally lazy.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, we can't stress research enough. I mean, when I went vegetarian, I was young and dumb, basically. I didn't do any research. I watched a YouTube video and changed my whole lifestyle based off a YouTube video, right?
Yep.
So then coming back onto eating meat, it wasn't just over a day. It took years before I fully transferred over. And there was a lot of research being done to influence me that way. And yeah, it was a matter of not just looking at one source, but looking at multiple sources, and looking at government sources especially are important because they're the ones who regulate our food. So they're going to be the most accurate.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and there is so much propaganda out these days, and so much. There's a documentary out every single day. You know, the most recent one that I like to bitch about is the Game Changers on Netflix, and how they, you know,
Netflix is killing us.
The vegan, I know they are, and I'm gonna try. I'm trying to create something for them. We'll see. But really, and there's more and more people talking about meat now. There's a couple great documentaries that are in the works. But it's you know, that's what happens when you throw millions and millions of dollars by people who are invested in the pea protein and vegetable plant protein you know, business. They're going to put a documentary, they're going to put it out there, and everybody's going to say, oh, you scoured the earth and you found 4 athletes maybe, or 5 that arguably are at the top of their game, right? But it's just, and then everybody else is eating meat. Well, what do you think? Like, come on. So, I mean, there are a lot of people that are not eating meat and doing well. I mean, there's a lot of different, you know, I like to split hairs a little bit with the vegetarian, the vegan. You know, if you're eating, you know, eggs and cheese, I mean, you'll be fine probably forever, right? Because the eggs are perfect, you know, cheese are great, but I mean, you know, a fully human optimal diet is probably going to include a lot of meat, in my opinion. But it's funny because with all this information, misinformation, and then just really a lot of it is just honest to goodness guys like me and you going, we don't know what the hell's going on, right? This is why I think a lot of people are turning to these anecdotal, maybe it's anecdotal, but it's N=1. I'm experiencing with myself. Let's start an elimination diet with myself. Let's start this. Let's, you know, pull foods out of our diet. And then that is most compelling evidence that I've seen, because I hear every day where people are, we're changing our lives. You know, you lose 100 pounds, you lose 120 pounds, and then the doctor says, oh, but, you know, watch to your saturated fat. Are you kidding me? Like, I just forgot. I just wiped out everything you told me, and I lost 100 pounds and changed my life. Now you think I'm going to listen to you on the next thing? So it's funny, you know, because for me personally, I don't want to harp on it, but for me, I ate high fat, I ate high, you know, cholesterol, I ate high, you know, salt. Even sodium is another one that they kind of
imagine how much meat I eat owning a butcher shop.
There you go.
Like,
right?
Constantly, man.
Yeah, and you're a healthy guy, right?
Now I just throw it in.
There you go. So it's so funny that, like, and you guys are great examples of people who are like, well, you live it, right? Research all you want, but live it. Eat it. You know, when you're surrounded by good food, and that's the food that's nourishing you and your family, right? It makes all the difference. You know?
Yeah.
So, so what do you think that, you know, what's the best way to kind of, I want to take a little bit of an approach maybe onto like the kind of the younger children. Do you have any children, guys, at all, or no?
Yeah, I got a boy. He's 3-ish. 3 over 3 under 4.
Sounds like me. Sounds like me.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because I have 2 children as well. Christy, do you have any kids yet? No, or not yet? I'm assuming. Sorry, but yeah. So, and I have 2 daughters. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old as well. And it's interesting to me. You know, I'm seeing it now, and even in their schools and their kids. You know, one of the kids that I was chatting with the other day, actually one of the farmers the other day, he was chatting with, saying that his son was experiencing, you know, their friends coming to school saying, "Oh, we should be vegan now. We shouldn't eat meat now." And like that's really bothering me, especially because not only do I think it's not optimal for every human, adults, but especially for children, right? And I think it's actually it's dangerous now, right? You know, I've heard these stories about, you know, there's a couple stories of a vegan child death, you know, from now malnourishment and all of this stuff. And like, so one of the things I try and tell kids too is like, and this is one of the reasons why my daughter kind of is involved with this, is that let's start at the young age, educating that, hey, it's easy to eat this real food. And I think that if we get them at the youngest age, we'll bypass all that, you know, conditional or that conditioning that they would have received. And if we get them at the young age, say, hey, your grandmother made this, your great grandmother made this, right? It's only me and your dad that were dumb, had screwed up for about 20 years or so, you know, 50 years or so.
That's usually one of my sales things is like, they did this for 100 years before we changed it, and now we're back.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that makes sense.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, so that makes sense to you. Then the old ways, right? That's the best way. In the old ways, you don't have to worry about any of this crap, and it's the healthiest ways as well. So do you actually leads me to the next question about curing meats? Do you do curing, and can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
I do. We actually have a display. We took a cooler, we hung it full of sausages, and we wrote down our recipe. And if we did this interview 2 days ago, that would still be full. It's gone.
Oh, perfect.
But I left a couple hanging in there just so we could see it.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
But I did it just to show people this is the oldest way with modern technology, but the oldest recipes. It's bare bones. This is not cute, like fancy nitrated salt in there. They were doing it under the saddles of their horses as they were riding it at the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
That's how jerky was made, from the salt from the horse and get pounded by a saddle.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's how they would cure beef, in the eastern side of the world, like the Mongolians and that, they would, and because that's what they were doing. But then you get into the cave regions of northern Italy and Germany. Everything's done in the back of a cave.
Yeah.
The best cheeses come off the floor of a cave.
Yeah.
You know,
best molds and absolutely.
Yeah. Somewhere we lost doing it a natural way where no one was dying to let's experiment with all this other stuff. And now we're weeding out who's strong enough to handle the altered. Yeah. And that's a lot more people, I think, are catching on to that and are moving back.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets us to our cured meat. Doctors say that's the worst thing for you. Then you look at your granddad who's 98 but only drinks a Pabst Blue Ribbon and he a stick of salami every day, and he's healthier than your cut. You know, so you got to figure it out where it went.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I get excited sometimes about it, and
no, I get
it. I cure meat. I did it in my your dad did it, his dad did it, and his dad before him, or his mom, and it's the way of life, right? And so we started doing it in the cooler, and I bring customers in because everyone's like, oh, this or this or this. But I was like, you know what? Whatever's working for you is working for you. But you got to remember the fundamental of it. It's just salt and meat with a little bit of seasoning. And now everyone's throwing in, let's throw in this. Well, let's throw in this. I want it to be picante, smoky, and this. It's like, you guys, go buy that.
Yeah, I want to have a jam inside. What do you want?
It's jelly-filled sausage now. I don't know. And then they come back, and how come it didn't work? I was like, because the only reason it did work is it was a pure product.
Yeah.
And that is why it worked for so long. It's purity, I guess, of just being pork and salt and black pepper. And then, we evolve and we find other spices and seasonings. Yeah. But now that's taken away. It's adding a lot more filler, to what was once meat and salt.
So that's salt. Yeah. Well, actually, and it's funny because I've noticed a lot, and especially a lot of my research, that there's a very interesting relationship between the amount of sugar in your diet and glucose, essentially carbohydrates, and the amount of salt you actually need. So now that I'm on a very low carbohydrate diet and I don't actually retain as much water as I used to, right? I actually don't retain the salts and the electrolytes either. So I actually need a lot of salt now. So it's very interesting. And I turn to a lot of cured meats now as my regular food, believe it or not. So that's why I'm very interested in the question of can you still cure it with just plain old salt? And then the other question is, when we use nitrates these days, or people that do nitrates, is it just laziness? Is it just color? Or is it a couple factors? What are the reasons that we do it?
They say, and I'm not sold on this, but they say the high nitrates, well, that's government proven, right? It has to have it. It stops botulism or this or that. And I was like, well, no, but the salt, go back in time.
The process, right?
The process of what you're doing. You just added 4 other natural, garlic is still alive. It's going to ferment. Yes. It's not the salt.
Yes.
So what I did, everyone, 2% curing salt or ready cure or pink salt, whatever. That's what you do. I was like, all right, here, grab this sea salt. Let's go 1%. Same product.
Yeah.
Better product.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But it's your conditions. It's what did you put in there? I didn't put garlic. I didn't put this. I didn't put the stuff that can ferment with time. That's why you run into problems or you break seals or that. You ever make pasta sauce and you didn't seal it right?
Yeah.
That ferments. And
yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah, but, absolutely. For sure.
But that's people, you need the salt because it has to cure.
Yeah.
You got to absorb that moisture, get out, but you got to shake your head. You got to go common sense. Yeah. Do you think your dad went out looking for pink salt when he's making salami?
No.
Be lucky if he had a grinder.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
2 knives, let's cut, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea of salt, I mean, salt's been around forever. I
Mhm.
mean, it's almost I want to say it's a secondary. It's almost equally a primary ingredient in this because it's the mechanism that, or it's the ingredient that cures the meat, right, and it makes it go from a spoiled product to now it can last months and months and months, right, or longer
Mhm.
probably. But interesting that I've learned that the salt because it ferments, it keeps it while the meat actually ferments, right? That actually makes it a little bit more nutritious, and it's a little more bioavailable to us, which is very interesting. I've learning. So you can pound for pound, you can get more nutrition from a little bit of salami than fresh pork, which is very
Yep.
interesting. Certain elements, right, or the protein at least. But that's interesting because so you can still do it the natural way, right? And I know that who knows how long now, maybe 40, 50 years now, it's been very common or less maybe to use the nitrates and the pink salt and everything, right? And it's convenient that that's also what a lot of people say that's the reason why cured meat is bad for you. Now I take out the pink salt, right? We go just the old way. There's no reason to be bad for you. Even the fact that the nitrates, that's actually debatable as well. A lot of people think there's nothing wrong with that at all, right? A lot of scientists. But so if you remove that element, now you have meat and salt. That's as natural as it gets.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, that's amazing, and I'm glad that you talked about that because a lot of people are, like pepperoni's bad for you and all this. Not the way it was invented. It wasn't invented in, no offense, but Schneider's factory. It was invented in the hills of Italy somewhere.
Yeah, like that's what I tell people. Like the item is a good item. Who's making it is making it wrong.
That's right.
You know, like what? Like I make a salami, it costs $20 a pound. You go buy one from the store, it costs $5 a pound.
Yeah.
But go look on the back. It should just say pork and salt.
Yeah.
Maybe pepper or whatever. But now you get dextrose, salt, nitrates, phosphates, this and that. And it's just like,
yeah.
What are you eating? Pork was not the first one on that list. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. So you guys do your own curing right in house there as well, right?
Yeah, we're starting to. We're working with the public health department. They're keeping an eye on us because, public safety first and foremost. Absolutely. But they let me do it at the old place. I don't sell it. I do it just to show the process, right? And it's kind of like it's a sales technique for me because I'm showing real casings,
like demos,
casing. Yeah, and then I eat it. It's like you start with 75 pounds. What do we get? 38 pounds.
Something like that.
Yeah, from 75 it goes down to 38 because you just sucked all that stuff out.
Yeah.
And so then people get to see, this is what this looks. I was like, this is when you do it the real way instead of like, sorry, YouTube interesting recipe, blah blah blah. Hot chef this week, boom. There's olives in mine.
Yeah, exactly. Why did it go bad? Why did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense too. Even just the idea of like the simplistic, right? Like almost like a naturalistic way to just say minimalistic way of like using meat and salt. That's just what it is. And then all the other crap that they add in there, it's almost like I understand why they add all these other nitrates because you're adding all these possible contaminants. So now you do have to make it super.
You got to neutralize it.
Yeah, you got to nuke it essentially. And then when you're nuking it, what else are you removing from the bad bugs? You're probably removing anything good as well. You just got to be in there, right? Every time you antibiotics something, you're killing everything, right? And a lot of times.
That's why we are very specific on where we buy our meat.
That's awesome.
And, you have to. It's my livelihood. I can't. If I'm killing my customers, I'm not going to be around them.
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And that's one of the things I want to remind everybody too, is that we're very fortunate and we have high standards here in Canada. Our meat is really good, right? I mean, it's safe to say that even our worst meat is good meat. Is that, I mean.
Yeah. Our lowest quality grade is still higher than other grades out there.
Yeah.
Like just the standard that they're set. So like you got like, I hate to say, don't trust the government in one sentence and say trust the government in the other, but but the government set this the standard, and it's the companies that are at least meeting the minimum with all their other ingredients, additives, but the meat aspect of it is regulated. When's the last time you heard someone talk about trichinosis?
Yeah, you don't. Really know what's happening.
But try and tell an older Italian lady to not burn the fuck out of her pork chop.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, 100%. But we eat ground pork while you're making it. You try a little bit, see how it tastes, right?
I have customers that eat meat ground meat raw in the store as they're shopping.
That's great.
And you know what? They love it. I don't care. And other people look at them like they got two heads. And it's like, well, you think, where did you lose the reality? You're anchored to reality.
Yeah.
You have to cook it this way. You have to make sure. But
there's a lot of scares. It's funny. I even researched a little bit about trichinosis, and I think the latest research says that bears are the most contaminated meat for trichinosis. Not even pork.
Yeah, no, but you know what? They classified bears as boars and sows. When you cut them up, they look like people when they're hanging.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
we'll skin them for people and this and that. And we got the high school over there. The kids coming in. But
that's interesting. So you guys do all kinds of butchering, like wild game as well?
Yep.
And her background of being a vet tech, she's able, like, the parasites that are in these animals, and she's popping them out like, look at this and this and that. And I'm just like, so we started doing autopsy reports for people. But it's just, you see the quality difference in the meat, in the vegetation. You are what you eat, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the government has created this regulation. Like, pigs can only eat a mash. It's not even been around that long, like 40 years maybe, if that. But before, you could feed a pig anything, and that's why.
Wow.
That's why people are getting trichinosis. But so
garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, that's right. You know, like if you eat fucking potato chips every day,
turn into a potato chip or potato, actually.
Yeah. But
I was
so
there.
And even with the local farmers, they're like, one couple, and I just shook my head, and they've been faithfully with me ever since. Her father has a dairy farm, and they just have a little hobby farm, but he'll give them all his high whey diet food for his cows to produce milk. Well, that don't make good meat.
No.
So they're like, how come our meat's? I was like, look what you're feeding it. It's not meant to eat this, you know? Like, put it on the field. Grass is free. Why do you think all Canadian beef, well, no, I won't say all, but fields, like go to Alberta. It's fields forever.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
So, you know, during the winter month, then they go inside, but they only show the documentary of when they're inside. They don't show 9 months out of the year.
Exactly. And that brings me to the next question, is that, like, you know, I've recently learned that all cows, especially, you know, in Canada and the United States, spend 80% of their life on just grass anyway, right? It's just how they're finished. And it's just how they're
something.
Exactly, right. It's just how they're finished. So even in the finishing, you know, there's controversy whether it's better for you or not. And I know a lot of people say that it is a little bit better, which is valid as well. And I think where a lot of people get kind of caught up is in the nuance. It's like, well, if I'm not going to worry about the debate whether grass fed is better than conventional fed is better, if I'm also concerned whether meat is good or not, right? Once I'm on the side of meat, and I need to tease it out, maybe I'll get to that point. But what do you feel about that? Like, I've heard, the omega-3 profile is a little higher for grass-fed beef, but they all start out in grass and, whatever.
That's what I tell people. And I got out there. Me and Christie have a grass finished and a non-grass finished.
Okay.
The one, and you'll see the difference. Mm-hmm. But people got to understand, grass is everywhere and free. No company's going to pay to feed a 2,000-pound animal for fucking 9 months when they could just say, go and then self-fertilize it.
Yeah, exactly. So for the next season, exactly. It makes no sense.
No, but then you get, I need grass-fed bones. It's like, I've never seen a bone eat. So, like, because beef broth is huge, right? Or not beef, bone broth.
Bone broth.
But, like, you guys got to understand, if you're buying a Canadian product versus, say, our Southern Country product there, you're going to see a lot of it. Why do you think that chicken breast is the size of your head?
Yeah.
Why is their turkey 33 cents a pound?
Yeah. 75-pound turkey.
Yeah. I cut a turkey. I charged the guy $5. It was a 14-pound turkey. It cost him $4.83 to buy it across the river.
Wow.
I charged him $5 to cut it.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's not meat.
No.
It looks like meat, but you shouldn't have a 12-pound turkey breast.
No.
Or a chicken breast, sorry.
Yeah. So we're fortunate then, I guess. I mean, the best way to say is that we are very fortunate, and we should really, use almost advertise this. It's good for our business, right? Like, as Canadians, I guess.
That is one of our keystones for advertising. Like it costs more, but you're not throwing it away. It's not disappearing on you. It's a full product. It's a real product.
Yeah.
So
exactly. That's interesting. One of the things I've found interesting when first going keto, but even now with the whole basically carnivore approach that I'm at, is that I have zero waste. I get a piece of meat, it wrapped up. That's it. Piece of paper is gone. And there's no, and then even as far as spices and everything, I'm not using as much anymore. I'm really just using salt. It's funny. But yeah, it's like all the packaging, all the processing, all this manufacturing that goes into, fake meat. Oh my God, don't even get me started on, 37 ingredients in there. And you'll never meet the nutrition anyway. And then my other argument is if you're trying to duplicate something, stop, just use the original. It's, try and make it taste like beef, you try and make it look like beef, try and make it have the nutrition of beef. And you're actually using blood from a cow in some circumstances, or cells from a cow. I'm like, whatever. So
the petri dish meat.
Yeah, exactly. So and especially when you realize, and as we learn that it's not going to save the planet. It turns out that it's really not going to save. What's going to save the planet in an ironic way is large herding grazing animals. Because they bring back to the soil, they sequester all the carbon from the earth and they put it back, or from the atmosphere, that we pump out, where we pull it out of the earth from oil, we burn it, and they actually, they eat the grass, and they pee and they shit and they put it back into the earth and they drive it down, and it grows more grass and they eat again, and that cycle is awesome. And in fact, we need them, more than anything. I think one of the things that, and I want to see your take on this, but I think one of the things that we run into is that people often think that we're apart from nature, like we're apart from nature, that we're separated from nature. And I always think that we're not. We're animals, and just not be assholes. That's kind of just the way I like to look at it. And what do you think? What's your take on that? Like, we're obviously animals, right? I mean,
yeah. We all came out of the river at one point, or the sea at one point,
and maybe it's our responsibility, but I don't know, how do you make sense of that?
I don't know. I'm not going to be around forever.
Yeah.
But everything moves around. Everything rotates. Everything travels, except us. We're the only ones that anchored in, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. Like, herds move, migratory. Everything moves around from season to season.
Yeah.
Like, everything's cyclical. Like, we're experiencing this now, but someone experienced it 60 years ago, and they got around it this way. Mm-hmm. So, like.
Yeah, and there's a lot of vegetarians, vegans that argue that slaughterhouses and meat production and all that, how bad it is for the environment. But I can only imagine all the shit that these that they'd be putting in with doing this fake meat, like what those factories are putting out. They're probably putting out just as much pollution, if not more. Not to mention with all the chemicals that they're throwing in there. You can't even, if you look at the back of a fake meat box, you can't even pronounce 90% of the ingredients. So how are they producing those? What is that? How is that going back into our environment?
Exactly. Those ingredients themselves have to be then produced first, right? And from other products and other sources and it's so crazy. And then
then that hurts the environment that our animals are living in, and it's just a vicious cycle, really.
And then all the packaging plants that you need to facilitate different style of packaging, the plastics, the single uses that everyone's trying to get away from, and now you're just creating a vessel. So kind of like bottled water. Do they produce water? No, they produce plastic bottles.
Yeah, exactly. And they steal water, turns out.
Yeah. So
that is crazy. Well, do you guys want to get into showing me the shop there, or showing me the?
Yeah. We'll take you around.
Awesome.
I'll let Christie there carry you.
Cool. Thank you.
How do I reverse this now? Is the question.
You should be able to.
There we go.
Awesome. Perfect.
Okay.
It is Christmas season, so.
Nice.
You want to start with the cured sausage?
Sure.
So, like I said, I left some in here. These are the artificial casings. But, so over here, I just left all my humidities, my temperatures, so people can see them. And, I wish you could smell this. It's delicious.
Oh, man.
But you can see, I don't know if it shows up, but you'll see the salts coming out now.
Yes, I can.
Way. So, but the meat's getting hard and firm. These are ready to go. Like, I'll leave it in the back there and I'll cut it open. You can see the color difference between, like, you'll see the color, how it should be, the red. Well,
Yeah.
You'll think of the salami you used to make.
Wow.
But it's simple ingredients, right? So yeah, now let's go to the back to see the raw meat.
That's beautiful, guys. I'm getting hungry.
So as you can see, we have a very open shop here, so you can see everything that's going on. So our customers see when Nick is cutting the meat, and
that is beautiful. Wow, it's been a long time since I've seen that. Wow, that's great.
I'll jump in here and explain what everything is.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
All right. So just to give you like scale, right? So this is a goat. This is local, all local product. This is a local goat, and it's hard to get our local goats and lambs to stay in the area. Like they're world known the quality for these animals, and if you get a goat, it doesn't look like this. I wouldn't even eat it.
Wow.
But it's nice coloring, this nice size, like it's so tender already.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Now here's grass-fed beef.
So sorry, Nick, I want to interrupt you there. How old do you think that goat was?
This goat?
Yeah.
6 months.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
So grass-fed beef. See the coloring?
Yeah.
You see, like I told you, it's orange, it's black, it's this color, right? Because it's not finished.
Okay.
See? It's a not finished product. Like you look at these fats, everyone wants to eat grass-fed beef, no one wants to look at it, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then you get into here, like the suet and the kidney fats and that.
Yeah.
And then,
wow.
like, is it going to be good? Yeah. But you're going to notice a distinct flavor, taste difference.
Okay.
And and it's good. But it doesn't look appetizing. And that's why they finish their beef. And this is what finished beef looks like. This is a smaller animal, mind you, but it's finished. See how white and red and.
Got you. So it's just, is that just more fat, or it's actually the different fat? I mean, it's a little different profile.
No, it's the same fats, it's the same cuts, but this had been finished
more
on a grain, and this was just left in the field on clovers.
Yeah, so leaner. Yep.
So both of them are extremely healthy animals. There's only products, hormones, or steroids.
Okay.
But that's the difference in that process of finishing, which every plant uses because of, well, you buy with your eyes, right?
Yeah.
You want something that's going to look good. This won't sell as fast, and when I cut into it, it's going to have sometimes even a purple, like dark.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are those there? Same, just beefs, right?
He's asking what these guys are, if they're beef as well, or?
This is all beef. We had an elk in here I could have shown you, but that's gone.
Oh, nice.
That looks like veal.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
That's beautiful.
When you get to put them side by side, that's what really shows the people the difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the open concept there you guys have. That's great. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So then, like, what's your biggest your customer base? Do you supply restaurants? You supply just residential, everybody, or?
We do a lot of residential.
Okay.
Now we want to get back into providing with restaurants and the game, but it's really competitive when you got like a Cisco, Flanagan's, and now they're offering frozen or ground really cheap. But if you read the back of the box, where did it come from? Why is it that cheap, right?
Nice.
So whereas I do a real product, you go work at the plant, you don't go work for free, so you got to pay for labor.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's beautiful. I love what you guys have there, and it's nice because it's definitely like there's a new market now, or not a new market, but it's an expanding market of the good quality. You know where you're getting your meat from. Like you said, meet the butcher. Essentially, exactly what you guys are doing. So, I love what you're doing. That's great. Well, thank you. Yeah, for the little tour around. Did you guys want to sit back down for a minute and kind of wrap up? Or awesome. It's a great view of the shop. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, no problem. Kitchen's a little dark there, but you can see we've got an oven there. We do pizzas and chicken parm and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And you don't need to see my messy.
That's okay.
How do we get over here? All right.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much for the tour, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. So what's the oh, you're all good there? Yeah. So what's the best way? Oh, no problem. We can chat too a little bit. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys? And I see you have an online presence, and you're pretty active as well. So
yes.
Good.
Yeah. So the best way, honestly, I mean, if you're not in the Sioux, the best way would be to call us or even email me. My email is on our website. It's on our Facebook.
Awesome.
Or just give them this call. I mean, we're always here. There's always someone to talk and answer questions. And
that's awesome. And then locally, you're at 11 White Oak Drive. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
White Oak Drive East. I think I read that. Okay.
It actually used to be the Bluebird Bakery.
Oh, okay. I remember that building well. Actually, a couple of my uncles used to work there. A bunch of my uncles worked there at one point.
Yeah. So it has a local feel to it already because we did add in a bakery and a pizzeria.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's very cool.
So I cut up some of that salami there just so you could see it.
Oh, yeah. Let me see that. Oh, look at that.
See the red in there, eh?
Yeah, that is nice. So how do you maintain the red without the nitrates? Because I thought that was the purpose of the nitrates, or one of the purposes.
Using good meat.
Just good. Is that it?
Yeah.
And good process.
Don't be the cheapest person on the block.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna eat cheap then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And it says like your process, your humidity is right, your environment is right, contamination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see. And then, did you have a preference whether you're using like synthetic casings or natural casings? Is there a pro and cons, an advantage for either?
On mine, I did both. I did natural and artificial. And to me, it all depends on how much time you want to spend peeling them after.
Yeah.
On the artificial, they come right off like that.
Come right off, yeah.
Yeah, on the natural, it's a little more of a process.
Yeah. And a guy like me, I just eat it anyway, so.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's fine for you, right?
You can.
It's totally fine, yeah. In fact, you can probably use some of the nutrients in there if there's any left. I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and the other question I had too is like, so do you guys do custom orders? Do you guys do things like that? If somebody comes to you with an obscure order, like, hey, can you get this for me? Can you get for me? And then have you had any kind of requests like that?
Oh yeah, there's as long as people give us time, you know, like they got to remember we're in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
And if they want, a specific cut or cut a certain way, I'll do it. It's no problem to me. Like
that's cool. And have you brought in any obscure kind of meats that someone would normally not see, or? We tried to get an alligator up here.
Okay. But yeah, they wanted us to pay for like a USDA agent to come to the Sioux, put them up for a night, then bring in a Canadian one to put them up for. I was like, for what?
Why?
Well, yeah. Well,
how
come it's not already inspected?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well,
the importing can be pretty complicated.
Yeah.
But...
Okay. Yeah, because they eat them all over in the U.S. probably, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we bought it.
Yeah,
of course.
From another butcher shop in Florida.
Yeah. Wow, that's weird. They're just so not used to it, I guess. If it happened more and more, then people would do it. Awesome. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome. Any kind of parting words you want to leave with our listeners? I mean, most of my listeners are in the Sioux, but also Kitchener. And like I said, I encourage people to email you or call and swing by the shop. I mean, you're the local butcher.
Yeah.
Literally meet the butcher, right?
Yeah, come meet the butcher.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, if you want to know more, we're very present on our Facebook page. We do lots of giveaways. So if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, got a website, got lots of pictures on all there if anybody wants to see anything. We do lots of custom orders, whether it's you want a steak cut certain way or a roast, or you want to do a gift basket, charcuterie board,
Nice. Anything
like that. We do a little bit of everything here. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much again, guys. I'll put all the info at the bottom of the show notes on how to get, how everybody can get a hold of you. And like I said, thanks for coming your time on Fatso Radio.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.